So we'll just move on to our next topic here on the Garden Report.
And that was talking Luke.
Yeah, we had been talking. Oh, did you guys just get here? Hey guys, what's going on?
If you guys are just logging on or signing on now, you just missed the Kornet portion of the show.
I thought we were on.
That's it.
I thought we were on. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
What happened? Anyways,
it's my bad. Glitchy.
We'll go to the second part of the show now. Celtics win 124-114.
And that's it. That's what we got. Luke played KP. Luke played KP off the floor tonight. That's what the story of tonight's going to. How many words? I'll put it this way. How many words is Bobby's Kornet piece for tomorrow going to be?
The over-under should be 600.
A little
it's
Sunday.
Way over. I'm telling you, it's going to be like 2,700 words. It's going to, right. It's going to
be a running diary of Luke's day in New York today.
Yeah. All looked lost for the Celtics in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Joe
this
Mazzulla,
is why Luke should start.
A frantic Joe Mazzulla, eyes darting under his blue blocker glasses, up and down the bench, looking for a solution. And then he settled it. Then his gaze met that of 7'2" Luke Kornet.
As the sun set in
Brooklyn.
In,
Luke, he said. Yeah.
A 7-foot specimen walking down the sidewalks of Brooklyn knew that tonight was going to be his night. He was ready for the call. Yeah, no, it's sad but true. Unfortunately, we will be getting
limit squares for everyone. Limit squares for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Luke Kornet.
It is. It's 11 square kind of night, but
it is 11 square. It's a Saturday night. Lemon squares are flying. The boys are good. We're gonna have a packed house tonight.
I will see.
How about that on a Saturday night?
We'll see about that. Let's get moving, guys. Before we start saying anything that matters, we'll let the room fill up. Let's see who's with us here on a Saturday night as we talk about the Celtics going to 5-0, still the only undefeated team in the NBA. And I think headlines for today, guys, certainly this is the fear, right? What happens to them when they lose one of their six starters, so to speak? And it's not even fair to compare because Brooklyn, which is an inferior team to begin with, was minus multiple rotation players themselves. So you're playing a pretty shorthanded Brooklyn team that you should be able to beat. But there was a bit of struggle here, and it's kind of that's the first look at what's Joe going to do, mixing and matching pieces when he's down a rotation player. How's he going to play it? Because what's happened through the first 4 games, 3 starters always on the floor at the same time. Either one of the point guards, either Holiday or White, a J, and a big. And then with 2 bench players, you can usually get by, and those lineups can carry. You couldn't do that tonight, and things got a little bit funky.
Fourth quarter.
I'm going to talk about Mazzulla's rotations. I didn't like a couple things he did both in the first and the third. We'll talk about everything else that we saw tonight. We'll definitely get into Luke. We'll get into Porzingis. We'll see if we can get Felger's take on whether or not you should skip a game if your wife is giving a generic birth to one of your children.
Don't get me started.
We'll see if we can get him involved in that. But Sherrod, I'll let you start. What stood out to you tonight from the Celtics 124-114 win over Brooklyn?
It's a great comment.
He's making it look incredibly routine, but Jason Tatum, at some point, we're going to have that Tatum for MVP conversation. He's making things look really easy, and the way that he's going about doing his business is a little bit different than we've seen in the past. I mean, him actually looking to take little guys on a block is a big deal for them. And I thought this was one of those games where even when they were down 1, they were still playing pick your poison. Because if you focus too much on Tatum, you had Luke Kornet, you had Al Horford making good passes, you had Porzingis rim running, looking like Rob Williams out there catching lobs in the first quarter. Jaylen Brown making passes that were on the money for dunks. I mean, this is the fear I think teams have against the Celtics, the fact that you really can't. It becomes a game of whack-a-mole with them. That the minute you think you got one of their guys knocked out, they've got 2 other guys making plays.
Yeah, and that's it. It's and I left this up for Fuzzy here. That's the thing, is it's amazing how often somebody's open with this offense here. But I agree with Tatum. It's like you don't want to keep gushing, but it's different. It's an approach thing, and we got into it a little bit last game too. It's just everything is more decisive, more purposeful, quicker, and he's just a tougher guard right now. He's getting where he wants to go easy. He is. I mean, before it'd be like this was a frustrating thing. He'd have a little guy on him and he'd set him up for the pull up. It's like, no, man, like use the physicality and get there. And he's just getting like when he's getting to the rim, he's just finishing easy now. It's definitely different. And he was in his bag for kind of most of everything that he does really well. So, I mean, another just a ho-hum 30-point Tatum game. He was just good all game long.
Every game we say it now, and I joked about it last show that he's just quietly going to average 30-plus points this year and quietly win the MVP because it seems like it's so much easier for him now. And that was the case again tonight. In the fourth quarter, I was texting, I think, a couple of you guys, and I was just like, like this lineup, man, like I'm waiting for Joe to like put in a couple of guys that would maybe space out this Celtics lead here because the Nets, give them credit, they kept hanging around all game. The Celtics dropped 70 points at halftime, and the Nets were right there with them, midway through the fourth quarter. So, but then Tatum kind of went into a little bit of takeover mode there in that fourth, about a few minutes in. He went a few possessions without really being involved, and then I think he was just like, all right, like I'm gonna make it a point to get involved here and make this put this game to bed, and he did just that. I thought Holiday was great tonight too. I mean,
awesome.
I have to pinch myself still that Holiday is wearing a Celtics jersey because I just feel like he's somebody that we've just watched on the Bucks for a few years, and we've just seen, and nobody ever could have envisioned that he would have been on the Celtics. I just figured he'd just be on the Bucks until the point where he just wasn't really a factor much anymore, and then maybe he'd do a couple years somewhere else. The fact that he's still the same player, and now he's on the Celtics, and he just does so much on both ends of the court. He understands what the game needs when it needs it. And tonight, I just thought he gave them what he needed. I mean, like the passing, the defense, he's always in the right spots. And again, he's not a guy that's going to light up the box score on most nights, but I get it now. Like, you wouldn't have known it unless you were a Bucks fan or unless you were a diehard NBA fan, that, this guy is a huge, huge reason the Bucks won a championship.
He just missed a triple-double. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's just.
And he didn't shoot well, but he had a lot of in and outs on like good looks on threes, and one silly scoop shot a little late in the game. But I mean, other than that, it's just like even on a poor shooting night, his presence is, it's the same exact thing as like you just watch him and you're like, this guy just does everything. That I think Garnett and Pierce on their little show that I guess they still let Pierce do, despite, how many times he's going to, debase himself. They were gushing over White and Holiday. Like, holy man,
dude,
they don't stop. They do everything. They do all the little things. Like they're playing every second of every play. There's no, we talk about like the whole we thing from last year and years past. Well, we just gotta. And it's like, that was the thing, is like, it was that passenger mentality. It was like, which one of you is going to do it, instead of saying, well, none of us did. And we all have to be better. And that means everyone. Like Holiday and White don't allow any room for that. Like they're always doing everything. And it really does. I was gushing about it the other day too. It just sets a tone that everybody else kind of has to follow, starting on the defensive end and through. But that's good. We've seen it happen. It's anybody worried about what we saw here just being short, because this is the only potential Achilles heel from this team, is that 6 players you trust and you don't trust anybody else.
I'm out. Damn right. That is my biggest worry.
I mean, and the drop off is so significant that it's enough to be. It takes you from, like, put it this way. I think 6 Celtics. I think Derek White plays tonight and they win this game by 40. And I'm not saying he's worth 30 points on his own. I just think the rotations that you can play when you have those 6 changes the dynamic, and the drop is so significant. You had multiple stints tonight with 2 starters and 3 bench players, and you even started the 4th with Tatum and 4 bench players. And by 4 bench players, I mean not even Horford. So it was definitely like a look into what the other side looks like if they ever go down one or 2 players or load manage or suffer any injuries. It's that's there.
Yeah, and the flip side to that, John, is not having Derek White. If, let's say, Brooklyn had their usual cast of characters, I'm not sure they'd lose this game. If they have their full complement of players and the Celtics are down to their top 5 instead of the top 6, doesn't mean Ben Simmons is worth 15, 20 points, but the Celtics, they're at their absolute best when their top 6 are playing, and then it becomes a crapshoot when they have to go deeper than that. And this was one of those games where I think Celtics benefited from the fact that they were playing a team that was also shorthanded. So the Celtics, they need to get some of these games out of the way early on just so they can see what this looks like. What does it look like when you are clearly not at your best in terms of your rotation? Well, how are you going to respond to that? Luke Kornet, we talked about him briefly, stepped up, had a really big game. But I thought, Sam Hauser made a couple of shots, picking up, off of what he did, the previous game when damn near everyone who stepped on the floor scored, including him. They're going to need guys like that to keep it going. And we haven't talked about Peyton Pritchard, and there's a reason why we haven't talked about Peyton. He was not very good tonight, again. But there were enough guys who were good that we're going to focus on them. But the bottom line is this Celtics team, there is a very thin margin for error, in my opinion, for them to win the championship if multiple guys are down. But they can win a lot of games without being at full strength. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Jimmy, where am I going with this?
I don't even want to say where you're going with this.
Well, I mean, everyone knows, and it's going to be like, oh, here comes John again. But that's what you know what it is.
You know what it is.
No,
damn it, John.
You know what it is. Boom, boom, boom.
I'm not picking on Brown. I keep saying the same thing. I'm not. We've seen it we've seen it for a while. This has been the Celtics issue. The Tatum off the court minutes, and it was a problem before because Brown and the bench couldn't carry an offense, and teams would key in on it. We'd see Miami start drooling, and Spoelstra would be like, zone it up, and the Celtics would go ice cold, and 10-point leads would turn into 4-point deficits, and you would just see stuff like that happen all the time. So this is what I didn't like about Joe. I think Joe's learned enough by now to know, like, maybe don't do that. So when you're going to go 3 subs early, I think you can do that with a Tatum lineup. Like, I think you can go Tatum, a guard, and 3 subs, or even Tatum and Pritchard with a big out there and live. But I think it's harder to do with a Brown and someone else lineup because you're putting him back in that position where he's got to create everything. And he's not good enough with the ball in his hands to be able to do that. He's in an ideal role right now with so many people who can handle the ball, and he has so much space, and he's going to be open. He's going to be able to find mismatches and attack aggressively. But when you put him in those lineups where it's like, all right, man, you got to carry, I never like that. And so I think we saw that twice. Joe went to the early sub at the 6-minute mark of the first and the third into that Jalen Giroux 3 sub lineup, and things that's where things stagnated a little bit.
I think when they do that, John, I think that's when Drew has to be even more ball dominant so that Jalen is playing off of his action as opposed to doing what we're talking about, what we tend to see happen, where Jalen becomes the primary dominant ball handler. Jalen is at his best when the ball is moving. He gets it with about 8 to 10 seconds on the shot clock and then has to make something happen, because that way he's leaning on his athleticism. He's leaning on the things that he does well, which is getting to the rim. And frankly, most defenders in the NBA, not all certainly, but most defenders have Jalen is a tough cover when he's aggressive attacking the rim, and you don't have the benefit of him dribble and then attacking. So I when he's out there with Drew and it's just him, Drew, and some subs, Drew, I think, needs to be way more assertive of just being ball dominant and making making JB play off of the ball as opposed to just giving him the rock with like 15 seconds on the shot clock and just let him go to work. I don't think he's that to me is when he is at his worst as a player, when you give him a ton of time and you're expecting him to do something. But you still need him to be aggressive in that half-court set. And to me, the best way to do that is get him to rock with very little time on the shot clock and let him go to work.
100%, Sherrod. And this is why for years, some of us, I'm not going to say who, but I think we all know who we are, have been screaming to stop forcing these guys to be players that they aren't. Stop forcing Point Tatum. Stop forcing Point Brown. Let them play their natural positions and do what makes them the best. They can both be the best, some of the best players in the NBA by playing to their strengths. Stop making them do things that they aren't comfortable doing and that they frankly aren't good at. And that's being the point at their position. They're not that player. And Jaylen Brown certainly isn't. We know that he can be one of the best scorers in the NBA, but not if he's given the ball, dribbling the ball up the court and trying to find his shot or trying
sometimes
to create
he is.
plays.
But,
In transition, sure, but not in a half-court offense is what I'm trying to say.
But sometimes, Jimmy, the thing that they do that kind of frustrates me is that they don't seem to at times recognize the difference between I'm the point guard playmaker or I'm going to take advantage of this mismatch. Because if I have a mismatch and I can ISO that mismatch, I should do that, and I should be aggressive with that. I shouldn't be running the offense, trying to seek out the mismatch, because to me, it takes away from, to your point, it takes away from what they're at when they're at their best. And they get that confused a lot, where they're looking like they're trying to be the point guard instead of just naturally, organically taking advantage of the mismatch. Yeah. I love it when Tatum gets the ball and starts backing a guy down and gets to that elbow. And then the defense is like, okay, are we going to let him have this ISO coverage or we're going to double? And if we double, Tatum is finding the open man. And that, to me, that's not him being a playmaker. That's simply him taking advantage of what the defense's shortcomings are based upon his ability. They don't do enough of that. And as great as they've been so far this year, I think Joe Mazzulla and his crew, when they go back and look at film, they're seeing a lot of the stuff I think we are, that they're good now, really good. But there's so many opportunities for them to be even better, which I think is the scary part about this team right now, because they're playing great basketball, but there are clear moments and multiple moments where they're just not doing the things that they're capable of doing.
Offensively, it feels like they can't be stopped. Defensively is going to be about effort, and I felt like tonight they didn't give an A effort on defense. They scored 70 points at halftime. I mean, it felt like, and what's up, John?
No, they got hot like the last 2 minutes of the second quarter. They got a bunch of those points right at the end.
Right. I wanted to quibble with one thing, Jimmy. I am not a Point Tatum guy when you have White and Holiday. I am a Point Tatum guy when you're going to put him out there with the subs. And that's what I was kind of advocating for. And I actually thought he played okay in that position in the fourth quarter before people came in there. So I don't mind it out of necessity.
Sure, John, in that spot, sure, you want your best player on the court to have the ball. When you're talking about him, Pritchard, Kornet, Hauser, and
that's all I'm saying.
And O'Shea, yeah, with the ball in his hands. And I actually agree with you. They didn't do that enough, actually, when it was him with that lineup to start the fourth quarter. But, I mean, geez, in most cases, I hope you're not going to see that lineup out there. I think you are in certain situations. But if it's the starters or if it's majority of the starters, I think you play to your strengths.
No doubt. And again, it's remarkable, like how it's, I mean, a good, not great game for them. They still don't shoot the ball really well from three, but they get whatever they want in and around the basket. You got a poor shooting night from Holiday and Brown. You're down Derek White, and you still win it, going away. And this never felt like on the road. This never felt like this game was going to get. I mean,
on the road.
Yeah, this never felt like this game was going to get.
It was weird. Yeah, you were never.
You never felt threatened here.
No, but it was close.
I think that's maybe one of the biggest differences between these guys and the last couple of years. This was a game that if they would have had the crew that they had a year ago, you're thinking they're going to lose by 6. Yeah. They're going to find a way to blow this thing. It's going to be close. They're going to have like a bad 2.5 minute stretch, and it's just going to blow the whole damn thing up. And you never got that feeling. I mean, there was a period where they were kind of teetering a little bit, and then Drew Holiday knocks down a shot even after he had knocked down many all game.
They're so good.
It just felt that they were going to figure out what they needed to do to keep Brooklyn at arm's length and not make this a game.
Too good. You knew it too. When they were able to hold them off and Pritchard and Jalen were still on the bench with less than 6 minutes to go, it was like, yep, this is over, and then they came in and they just sealed it up. So, they did what they had to do here. There was some, hot shooting early from Brooklyn that kind of kept them in it. And that was about it. It was, again, they're just, the talent's going to win out. So many of these nights. Yeah. But you're right. You can find a way to lose some games like this. And that wasn't necessarily the case tonight. We do have Bobby and Josue in Brooklyn. We probably going to get those guys on at one point. Bobby's definitely not missing.
Bobby's definitely coming on tonight. There's no way. Yeah.
I told him Kornet talk comes in at goes from 21 to 23 minutes. We're at the 20-minute mark right now. So if he doesn't get here in 20 minutes, he misses it. But before we do, Kornet will tell you a little bit about our sponsors, starting out with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network, also partner of the NFL, and the NFL is in full swing, and you can get in on the action here. When you visit FanDuel.com/Boston, you get $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 winning money line bet. Money line, Jimmy, bet it straight up. What do you like? What do you like
Who's
tomorrow?
On the NFL, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of weird ones. I hate to say it. I don't really have a strong take. I think maybe like the Saints are an easier one tomorrow. Saints and I don't know. There's another weird matchup.
Who do you got with the Chiefs and the Dolphins, though, Jimmy? That's the game.
I wouldn't bet that money line game if I'm trying to get the bonus bucks. It's too up in the air. The Chiefs looked like crap last week.
Yeah.
The Chiefs looks horrible last week, so I would stay.
If you're looking for the bonus,
all you got to know is Taylor Swift going to be at the game? That's all you need to know.
That's a great point,
you
Sherrod.
know what's going to happen.
We don't know that yet. The odds are going to change as soon as we find out.
It's Germany. It's cool. She's going there. So yeah, make sure you check that out. FanDuel.com/Boston. Once again, America's #1 sportsbook. $5 when you make any money line bet. Also,
if you're trying to bet the Patriots on a money line tomorrow, might be the best bet you have the rest of the year. I might think about that, but I wouldn't bet too much on them.
If you don't know what you're doing, as many people don't, and you want to bet a little bit more responsibly, a great tool you can use here is on the screen. Odds Are. Go to oddsr.com/Celtics. Download the app for a 30-day free trial. Odds Are is not a sports book, but it helps you bet smarter using AI and machine learning. So it's basically just saying, do this, not that, because you want to do, I guarantee you want to do that. Like you want to do the dumb thing, right? And your 8-team parlays and your teasers, and don't do that. Listen to what Odds Are tells you. Green means go, yellow means sure, try it, why not, knucklehead. Red means stop. But go with the green bets.
You need to
That's
fade
the smart.
yourself.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's where the smart money is. So check it out, oddsr.com/Celtics. Again, no reason not to try this. If you are laying any action on games and see what it has to offer, it is a 30-day free trial, oddsr.com/Celtics. Go right there and download that app. What else do we want to talk about today, guys?
That was talking Luke. We're already past the Luke mark, unfortunately. So
I blew through it with an ad read. No Luke tonight. I'm
sorry. Too bad. That's really too bad. And Bobby didn't make it anyway, so
didn't make it. No, I mean, you got to give Lucas flowers, right? Like, I mean, you can't play better than this. You can't play better than this and this. And here's the thing: at a time when I'm not loving the Brissett. I'll tell you this. In that second stint, he gave you some good contributions. He had that little tip out, which ended out with a 3, and he's okay. I just think in general, not tonight, notwithstanding, I think in general, just energy isn't necessarily enough. You want to see a little bit more out of a bench guy. Energy is good, but I want to see if someone else can bring something else to the table. I'm not sure why we're married to this yet. I would definitely be using this early part of the season to experiment rather than have to put people in later or try people later and have them not be ready. I think this is the time to mess around. I don't know how we've settled on Brissett as a lockdown member of this 8 or 9 person rotation when they go there. I would definitely try another thing or two. And I think Pritchard, you're going to run into those problems. You're going to run into problems with Pritchard too, because the bottom line is, I just I think athletically, he just has a really difficult time competing against A lineups. So anytime he's in there against other teams' better players, or even, competent bench players, he's just going to struggle. So you needed someone to do something tonight coming off that bench, and it was Luke.
Yeah, the guy that I'm still not quite fully understanding why we see little to nothing of him is Lamar Stevens. I think this guy, once he gets a chance to play and gets on the floor,
will stay in there.
He's not going to leave.
Yeah.
He's the one guy that they have kind of in that end of the bench crew who we've seen play at this level against good competition and holds his own. He's not a great shooter. He's not a great scorer, but he's one of those high energy defensive types on a team that needs that from that second unit because they don't need him to get buckets. O'Shea Brissett has done, I think, a decent job of bringing energy when he gets in the game, but I think Lamar Stevens has a chance to take that to another level. I'm a huge Lamar Stevens fan, and Brissett being a Syracuse guy, I'm taking Lamar Stevens. I think at the end of the day,
and I think Hauser's minutes are up for grab too, as Dr. Richard Kimball says over here.
Sure. I mean, I think we all agree that nobody in the bench is safe except, I guess, the sixth guy, whoever that is on that.
Al.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't on the bench tonight, but yeah, past the six guys, opportunities can be had. So I agree with you, John. I mean, there shouldn't be any stubbornness to going to like the 7, 8, and 9 guy, So, and I think Stevens will get his time. I think all these guys on the bench are going to have their time to, prove themselves. I didn't think that Brissett played bad enough tonight where where Joe had to say, all right, take a seat. We're going in another direction. And I think that time will come, but you mentioned it earlier, the lineups where Tatum was in there with the bench, they held their own. It wasn't like a run that the other team went on that forced Missoula to call a timeout and, put the starters all back in the game. They did what they could out there, and Kornet was a big part of it. So shout out to him. We've obviously, he's been the short end of a number of jokes to start the year. And tonight he gets his due, 11 points. Perfect from the field. He had a nice little and one there too, going strong to the basket.
That catch was great, and I tweeted about that, and I'll give him his props there. I hate those passes into bigs in no man's land.
Pritchard to Kornet. Who would have thought?
Pritchard into Kornet, low. He has to catch it low, collect, and go up all while moving. That's not easy to do. So hats off to him there. For that. And we'll put this on the screen for you, Bobby. Why not?
Very good. Who's joining Kornet Island tonight? By the looks of the tweet, not many people. There's maybe a handful. Still a very lonely island, but
all the coconuts you want, Bobby. You got them all, buddy.
Well, that's a shot at me, and I think it's deserved. That's coming right back at me because I said Bobby was on so many islands.
Well, it was like our text that we had where Bobby's like just kind of going off. He's like, I just don't get it with Luke. Like, what's wrong? What's
why doesn't everyone love him like I do?
Because he's not that good.
John's response was literally, "Who's gonna tell him? Who's gonna tell Bobby?"
Me. I'll tell him.
He's just not that into you. How about that?
It's not you. It's him, not you. Yeah.
It's too good.
I think this is the fair response here. He gets props. We're not joining the island. We're not doing the Bobby small sample sizes thing. Like I said, the way the way I feel about people doesn't change night to night. It just
you just hate everyone every night, right?
No, you gotta string it together for a period of time to you've seen enough of this over 2 years. The one night that Luke has a good game, it's not going to change everybody's opinion, but Bobby can absolutely take his victory lap tonight, and it's well deserved.
Sure, but it's a very small lap. I don't want to do 20 more minutes on Luke when he gets on, please.
Yeah.
Help us. But I have a feeling there's going to be a soundbite or two from locker room. I'm sure Luke is answering questions tonight, and I'm sure Bobby is right there,
center.
Right there. Luke, with the microphone. So
yeah, Bobby's like, you've been in the Patriots locker room, Jimmy.
Chant.
Yeah. You really want one guy and one guy only, and you just sit there and you wait, and the scrums go 1-to-1. I'm like, nah, I'm waiting here. Bobby's just watching 6-7 guys talk, and he's like, I'm first in line for this guy.
Bobby
And
goes
he
all the way
gets
to
here.
Brooklyn, comes back with 0 sound, no footage, just a one-on-one with Luke. Yeah, totally redeemed himself.
And I think it's fair to say, yes. Yeah.
Hey, they're still undefeated. The last undefeated
Or
team.
how do you keep this guy out of the lineup? Bobby's going to start saying some crazy shit, like potentially, would you think
He should start
if you were down a starter? Would you think of putting Kristaps on the bench? He's going to say that tonight. There's a shot he says that.
There is a non-zero chance that those words come out of his mouth.
He says that, and he's dead serious.
He's gonna say, you just knew that there was going to be a matter of time before Luke snapped out of it. That's what he's going to say. You just knew he wasn't this bad. That's exactly what he's going to say. Can't wait. But
good for Luke. They needed it. Loved it. He did good things. He was there. He did
his job.
No, he did his job. He collected the ball down low, and he did what he did. You're 7 feet tall. Catch it down low. You go right up with it, and you have an advantage over people. And he did that tonight.
This is a great line from a bench player. This is exactly what you want. When we talk about our concerns about the Celtics bench, there are no concerns if guys like Luke are contributing in this fashion. Yeah. It's just a matter of, can you be consistent? That's what it is.
Well, can you be consistent? Not even so much in the numbers, but can you be consistent in just making your presence felt? If you're playing 6, 7, 8 minutes, I should be able to remember one discernible thing you did out there. And there are too many games where Luke is just sucking up air, running back and forth, getting great cardio. But isn't giving you anything that is memorable.
Look at the angle. Yeah, look at the angle of this interview with Bobby. Bobby's sitting here looking at him like, I love you. check this out. Here's Luke.
You're my God.
Judge your play when you look back at a game? Obviously, it's going to be easier for a lot of fans to look at tonight with 11 points and say you played well, but how do you usually grade yourself?
Really it's just kind of going back and looking at the decisions I made, and that's like working with like Charles and Emile and just kind of seeing where that is. And that's funny because sometimes I could feel just as solid about decisions I made in a game where it's 11 points versus a game where it was 0, and it's just kind of like changes night to night. So it really is going back and looking kind of at the decisions and my energy level and how aggressive I'm being, sometimes it can also be like you get 3 offensive rebounds and you really just kind of lucked into them, and a lot of times you really pursue the ball and you never got any. So it's really just kind of looking back at what your decision making was and what your reads were, and then the rest from there is kind of just out of your control.
Was that the Luke body cam footage we got there? My gosh,
that was a perfect angle. I know Luke's 7 feet and whatever inches, so I get it.
What would you say to those guys at the Garden Report who don't think you should be playing on a regular basis? Do you have a message for those guys? That interview, by the way, went on for 36 more minutes. You can catch all of it. That was only a 30-second snippet. You can catch the rest over at CLNS Media's YouTube channel. And check it out. Bobby seems like he had a free run at Kornet there. He was the only guy around.
What the best part is,
Kornet Island was open for business.
Bobby was just
no takers,
standing at the locker waiting, and he got the front row.
It is.
Tatum walks by, Jalen walks by, Al walks by. We're not moving. Kornet Island. Here we are.
It's fine. And honestly, to be fair, on a road game, there's only a handful of traveling media there anyway, and Bobby's there.
So perfect.
Yeah. So, you're going to get better access.
I know. I don't know if I was muted when the clip came on, but I audibly gasped and died laughing. I imagine everyone watching at home had to have done the same exact thing as soon as we went to that clip.
That's the angle of it. I mean, the Luke body cam angle is my gosh.
Ahmed has some inside info that he did miss a couple key players for that interview. So
they're okay.
That's okay. That's okay. We got the scoop. So
this actually was this was actually uttered a couple shows ago. John, you remember the Suns game? No, I don't.
Yeah. Remember that one time?
I don't.
Yeah, we actually don't. Bobby remembers that he watches highlights every morning.
Yeah. I don't. No, but that's cool stuff. Anyway, good for Luke. And
Good for Luke. Good for Bobby. Good for everybody in the family. Good for the entire team.
Right. Bobby and the Kornets. Big night in general for them. What do you guys? Who's been watching the tournament?
Nobody's watching the tournament. Can I get something off my chest?
Well, Jimmy, since you want to get something off your chest.
Nobody is watching the tournament. People are watching regular season basketball games, wondering why
with weird colored courts.
Wondering why the courts are the way they are, and wondering why there's like a little graphic being like in-season tournament, and texting me and probably you guys being like, "What's this in-season tournament?" And then I have to explain that it's actually nothing. It's just an incentive for the players to play in the game and not just take random regular season games off, because that's been happening. If you're an NBA, if you're a fan of any team, this tournament means absolutely nothing to you. Its only benefit is so that the players won't take a load management game, and then their benefit is they all make $1 million if they win the tournament. Other than that, it's just ugly basketball courts. And I'm actually pissed that it's not going to be parquet at the TD Garden. Is nothing sacred anymore? Or once we put
the answer is no.
Once
Jimmy.
we put the parquet floor, once we take the parquet floor away and put the other court in there, we've lost everything. We've lost what it means to be in the TD Garden, guys. So I am not a fan of the NBA in season.
Well, Jimmy, that's kind of their point. They don't want
this.
You to see
this
it as
Nick
a normal
Gelso
game.
moment was brought to you by Jimmy Toscano.
No, I just, you know what it is? It's not even about the parquet. It's just don't make me. I'm not an idiot. Don't try to sell me on something that's nothing, because I'm not
Jimmy,
idiot.
But they are.
I
Jimmy,
get it.
They are going to do that. They're totally going to, because there are idiots out there who are going to look at this and like, wow, it'd be great if we win.
Not if I have anything to do with it.
The funny thing to me is that, let's say your team goes out and wins this, the tournament, and then they get to the postseason and gets their asses smashed in the first round. Are you going to feel good about your season, your team season? Hell no. You got the nice shiny trophy, but you got your ass smashed when it really mattered.
You got $1 million. That's what you got, Sherrod. So I think it means guys might actually be kind of happy.
It matters to like the 8th and 9th and 10th guy. Sure. $500,000 is great for them, but you think Tatum's going to lose some sleep if the Celtics don't win the in-season tournament? You think Jaylen Brown is going to be got to keep sharp knives and objects away from Jaylen Brown if they don't win No, the best players are just doing this because they're going to play these games regardless.
Brown said it's a way to kind of increase some revenue. So, put money in their pockets. I always said this too.
What does that mean, John? What are you talking about?
You get more, just get some, I don't know.
What, the players?
Well, the extra games are not on the schedule to begin with, right? The ones that are in the, quote, playoffs of the tournament, that's some added revenue, correct?
I believe so.
No, what? Because
they're all playing 82.
No, I think there's extra games for the teams that are in it in the final outside of regularly scheduled games. Maybe I'm wrong, but then also the money in their pockets. I always thought the All-Star game would have been, the only way to have ever made the actual All-Star game is to give everyone on the winning team $1 million, and they could have done that too. Then you would have seen people play their freaking asses off for that thing. But anyway, I was trying to save some topics for Bobby. I wanted to give him a shot at Al. Al low key was phenomenal. Like, not just low key, Al was phenomenal tonight. The plus 29 led all Celtics players, and he was. I mean, it really is remarkable that he's like able to do. He's 37 years old, and he just looks spry. Made one great play, getting back on defense, and chasing somebody down, and then making a steal off of a Celtics turnover and turning it around and going it the other way. I thought Al was great tonight.
Well, the thing that I respect the most about Al is he knows exactly who he is, what he can do, and what he can't do, and he does not deviate and try to step outside of that. He knows that at this point in his career, he's not going to go out there and just, get you 25 and 10, but he can get you 8 points if you give him 5, 6, 7 shots, and he can keep the ball moving and get the ball to guys in positions where they can be most effective. And he can always play really good defense. So he is in a great situation because the things that he can do are things not only do the Celtics need, but they need them, but not necessarily in the heavy doses that they've had to in the past. They need a good 10 to 15 minutes from Al Horford every game. That's all he should be expected
They need more
to
than
give
10.
him.
They need more than 10, Sherrod. They got five guys on this damn roster.
They don't have
Jimmy,
enough players for it to be that low.
They got 5 other guys who can get you 110 points every night, Jimmy. If I get 10 good minutes of Al defensively, we're good. We're good.
The bigs were phenomenal tonight. Both him and Porzingis were outstanding tonight. All 3 bigs were outstanding tonight, Bobby.
Yes, Jose Brissett was really good as well, John. You're right.
Yep. Brissett. Horford had a great night.
Bobby, we did 10 minutes on Luke. 10. We couldn't wait.
I knew this night was coming. I didn't want to jump off the island. I'm still here, still leading the charge, and I don't want to hear from the fans because I was hearing some nasty stuff on Twitter when he was entering early, and really throughout the early portion of the schedule, 4 games. Everyone wanted to give up on Luke. This is who he is.
He's 5 for 5, 7 rebounds.
That's who he is. Not the guy who's been in the. Oh my god!
Listen, he's talked throughout the early portion of the season about it being a different second unit, it being a group of guys that's still getting used to each other, and like I've said, he's a guy who's not going to score 11 points a game, obviously, but he is a connective piece for this bench, who's a good passer, who can test shots, who plays a style that the team wants them to play. And it's not flashy. It's not maybe even consistent, and it's matchup dependent, of course, but he's a guy I think you can more often than not rely on for those short stints. And you do have the upside of this if they're able to get him going in the pick and roll game a little bit. So he had 4 rough games, or however many he actually played over that stretch.
Bobby, he's not. This isn't his first year in the league. He's played for 5 teams over.
But he did this last year.
Over 7.5 seasons. You have enough body of work to know that
Bobby,
this
you don't
isn't
need to do this.
like this isn't Luke.
Bobby.
This was a good game by Luke. Like we're
Right.
not going to say this is.
No, this is the Luke ceiling.
Okay,
and you're going to get it every once in a while, but he's just solid, and you're not going to go to him every night. You're not going to get his best every night, but I think he's probably, as far as the third big goes, the best you can do.
He is the only you can do.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not a knock, but I mean, that's what we said is Kornet minutes make sense when they're short. And when they're down a big, you have no choice. You're going to do that here. So again,
and you know what I like tonight too?
Yeah.
They actually put, you've talked about how they're staggering the bench, John. They haven't staggered with the right guys. Tonight you saw a little bit more Tatum, a little bit more Holiday in with those groups, and it helps so much. I mean, how many times did Holiday hit Kornet with passes here to set him up? They didn't have that in a lot of the benches they were running earlier in the year. And I haven't loved the rotations in those second units from Joe, but tonight they hit the mark, and they were timely. And even the one that shocked me the most, and I turned to Josue, and he turned to me kind of at the same time. When Kornet got hit twice by Dennis Smith Jr. there with a couple pull-ups, got him out in space, you see Horford go right to the scorer's table, and it's like, they're pulling him. He comes in for Brissett, and they go double big with Horford and Luke, and I think that's when Luke got that and one alley-oop. So he stayed with them. He got another play out of him, and ended up being a good decision. You even wondered if he was going to close this game. He's just solid tonight.
Nobody wondered that, but he did play. He did play solid. But like Luke aside, you like the rotations tonight?
Yeah, I thought you got really good play out of the bench there, especially the end of the third, right, where Hauser got that steal and dunk. Pritchard wasn't great here, but you got good Hauser minutes, you got good Kornet minutes, you staggered Tatum and Holiday in effectively with that group, I thought. Brissett, again, another timely offensive rebound that I think set up a 3 right after. He continues to be a good energy guy. The shot, I know I saw you tweeting, John. I don't know what happened to his shot because I've seen, throughout covering him over the years,
his numbers are better than what he's shooting now. I mean, you can see how.
But I don't like how it looks.
He had one in the first half that was just a clear, just catch, step into a wide open 3, and he stops, hesitates, takes a weird dribble, across the 3-point line. He's like, wait a second, what am I doing? Then steps back and shoots it. I don't think he's thinking of shooting in rhythm or something that he's supposed to do. And I mean, it wasn't a total brick, but he missed it. But he had an opportunity to just catch and shoot, and he just didn't do it. So I don't think he's looking for it.
No, and he's missing badly right now. I think he got one good look in this game that went in and out, but
that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he hesitated because he should have shot it the second he got it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It's almost like he's just doing the Neesmith, going in there and trying to just run all over the place
exactly
and
doing
crash
the
the boards, and there's no focus on him being implemented in the offense. And I actually thought he might get the spot start in this game, just if they wanted to keep Horford off the bench. It looked like he was getting a little work in with the starters at shoot around, when they were leaving. So I wouldn't have been stunned if they went in that direction. But right now, and people who responded to me said it, he's the kind of guy that if he's in the game, defenses are going to hedge away from and start to overplay Tatum and the rest again. And I do think that happened a little bit in this game, which led to some sloppy turnovers from Tatum early.
Well, and that was also my thought. We mentioned it earlier, but Joe going to a 3 bench player lineup multiple times in the game because they were down. And I thought that first rotation that they used in the first and the third by taking Tatum off at the 5.5 or 6 minute mark puts you in a really difficult position, because it does the same thing you did last year by putting Brown on the court as kind of the offensive savior and in a role that he hasn't thrived in the past. So it was Holiday and Brown with 3 subs, both in the first and the third quarter when they went through those early rotations. Yeah. And I understand keeping Holiday with Brown because Tatum on his own can handle the ball and play the point forward role when he's out there. But I don't know if I would necessarily do that. It definitely worries me a little bit, that unit, and putting Brown back in that position when they are short like that. I didn't love those. And that's kind of where they lost it a little bit.
Are we rich?
Yeah, no. We did it.
We just got 500,000 IDRs.
Divvy it up.
I want Bobby to have all those ones. I don't know how much it is. I want Bobby to have them all.
You heard it.
Unless it's like a lot of money.
Yeah. Anyway,
Bobby, you're in the locker room. What's going on in there? How's the vibes?
But I mean, I've said this going back to camp. There's no goofiness. There's no laughing. There's no fooling around. It's just business. Guys are in there. They took care of the job tonight. They won another game, and it's on to the next one. It's impressive to see from a group that has wavered in its consistency, and I think gotten complacent after some big games. You win by 51. I think that's a prime opportunity to get complacent, and the Nets really played them well tonight. This was a great game. Love the intensity Brooklyn played with. The coach is going crazy on the other sideline. He's got those guys firing. They're doing hockey lineups and just coming in with fresh legs and just going at them. Flying into the half court, firing up threes. They shot more threes than the Celtics in this one, I think 51-44. But Boston withstood it. And they really withstood it with some great poise. It was like every time the Nets rallied and tied the game like they did 10 the first, or pushed back within single digits in the second half there, Celtics just ran a play pretty smoothly, especially late in the fourth there, where Holiday's rolling and finding guys for threes. And they looked unfazed. And there were stretches in this game where Porzingis got hit hard in the offensive glass. There was a technical on Horford at one point that could have been frustrating. Tough calls back and forth. And they just stayed poised in ways that we didn't always expect from them in recent years. And again, no silliness in the locker room, no joking around, no just, like a college, like dorm kind of atmosphere like I've seen at different points with them. It's just professional, getting dressed, leaving on to the next one. Absolutely. And they've talked about it too. It's a different atmosphere. It's new guys. So there's not really that familiarity. I think the 2 stars who come in command a level of respect, from the younger guys on this team, given what they've accomplished in this league, Holiday especially. So I just think it's changed the dynamic in the room, at least from what we see.
Interesting. Good insight, Babu.
Bobby.
And they've been consistent so far, right? Offensively, they're keeping up. They're shooting well.
But they're a little maybe
running plays.
not as strong defensively tonight.
Yeah, Joe didn't love the defense tonight. It's a fair point. But late, you get some good rotations in the bigs. Porzingis got out and contested a pair of threes. Kornet got out and stopped Dinwiddie three.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw some better rotations as the game went on. Forced turnovers are a little low right now, which is obviously something they want to do. They ended up forcing just 5 in this one. So they're gonna have to figure out a way to,
that was
get out,
interesting
get
that
some
they didn't force. I mean, there was 0 turnovers for Brooklyn, I think, up until somewhere in the third quarter. I think they went the whole half without it. Celtics had only turned over 5 times at that point. But yeah, they didn't get a lot of turnovers there for sure. And that's maybe not having White, not having that full court ball pressure with those guys, as consistently without Holiday and White there, I think is probably, one of the reasons you're just going to get.
Yeah, but I was shocked, John. I went back and looked at it because, there's been a lot of history between the Celtics and Nets just in terms of the margins and how the Nets have beat them with 3-point attempts and offensive rebound, all the rest. You saw it again tonight. Celtics are actually 28th, or at least were going into this game and forcing turnovers. So they've been pretty poor, with the turnover percentage so far. So it was a huge priority over the summer. It's something they want to do to get easier shots in transition, but they haven't done it well so far. And I asked Joe about a pregame, and he said, you're not always going to force a turnover, but if you do the right things with disruptiveness and hands and all the rest that could force a turnover, you feel good about it. And that's kind of where they're at right now, is they're doing things that could force turnovers. They're just not necessarily getting them right now.
Fair enough. I don't know what you do there to change that narrative there.
I think part of it's just the system they run, right? They're dropping so much. So you're not switching it, out in the perimeter. You're not catching guys between switches and cutting out the passing lanes and such.
I think that's going to be that way all year.
You're sort of, you're sitting back and luring teams into shooting those mid-rangers and such, which they did a good job with tonight. You keep guys away from the rim. But I think it naturally lowers your forced turnovers compared to the Ime defense a couple years ago, which – guys flying around, holding their ground, making great efforts and switching, around those screens. You can catch teams off guard. So they got to continue to mix coverages. They've gotten Porzingis out in switches a little bit, and I think he's getting more comfortable with that. But right now they're just sort of sticking to their bread and butter, which is the analytical approach.
Yeah. You just got to be solid defensively. I mean, that's with the kind of offensive firepower that they have up and down this lineup. If you're solid defensively, you're going to have a lot of games where you're winning by 15, 20, 30 points by simply doing the fundamentals. You don't have to force a lot of turnovers because if you're doing solid defensively, if you're doing a good job on the boards, run your offense and you're going to win big.
Yeah. And that's the thing is you might say, for example, like there's a few things that didn't show up in the stat sheet. Porzingis altered probably 5 shots that turned into air balls tonight. None of those count as either blocks or turnovers, and they are absolutely forcing the other team to give the ball to you without really making a legitimate offensive attempt. And that was, so you've had a few of those, that the shot altering sort of things from Porzingis, and that's what you get a little bit out of that drop coverage or keeping him low and having him there to just kind of, contest everything that's coming that way. He did that a ton tonight. So, doesn't show up, but I think that affects what other teams are doing. And again, just simply the pressure, forcing teams into difficult shots. And the Nets, honestly, what kept them close was because at the end, the shooting stats aren't ridiculous in terms of whatever. They hit a lot of tough shots in this game. They really did. And then they cooled off considerably.
And Porzingis, I love that stat, John, the contests, because that's where I expected him to make the biggest impact on this team, was just his size in the middle and how successful he was in the drop last year. He was number 1 after that opening night game where he just went crazy on the defensive end. But right now he's 8th through 5 games with 10 contested 2s a game. And he's actually 16th with 3 contested 3s a game. So he's getting out and contesting 3s too. I think he's going to be an all defensive guy this year, which is tough, with the amount of great defensive bigs in the league.
Not happening. It won't happen.
Too many good defensive bigs.
It won't. And Bobby, it won't be because he's not deserving. It's just that his reputation is going to keep him off of that. He may not even get into the conversation.
But his reputation should change based on what he's done the last couple of years. I mean, he's really become one of the most versatile, impactful defensive bigs in this league.
But you know what helps, Bobby? Winning. I mean, that's why when he was doing that in previous, the last couple of years, it went under the radar. No one gave a damn about it because his teams kind of sucked. And now he's in a situation where his defensive numbers, I think, if they're comparable to what he's done the last couple of years, he might get into the conversation. But he's not going to be all.
I'm with Bobby. I actually think a lot of these reporters can be swayed extremely easily. It's only going to take a little,
we can start a campaign, Jimmy.
Kornet sixth man campaign along with Porzingis all D.
It's true though. We saw
Kornet Island.
We see it happen with the MVP.
Porzingis property.
That's a T-shirt, Nick. Kornet Island, make it happen.
Let's do it.
Kornet Island, which is Bobby and Kornet on it.
Bobby and Kornet sitting under a palm tree.
Yeah, print them right now.
Let's go.
But I'm with Bobby. I think. Listen. I agree with you guys. It's going to be an uphill battle for Porzingis to get that recognition, but let's get a little bit further into the season and see some statistics roll out, some nerd stats that prove that Porzingis is one of the better defenders in the league. And I guarantee you, a little campaign push will get some of these reporters who have all these votes, to sway their opinions pretty quickly.
You know what's going to hurt him, Jimmy?
They want to be smart. One thing a reporter loves more than anything in the world is to pretend that he's smarter than the rest of it and then everybody else. So if he can say, actually, Porzingis is one of the better defenders in the NBA, then they'll love to be able to say that and vote for him.
So you see a future that has Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and Derek White all NBA defense.
It's possible.
If you're the number one defense. Now, they got a ways to go for that. I think they came in tonight 7th.
First team or second team, Sherrod. There's 10 spots there.
And as John mentioned, they weren't great tonight. I do worry a little bit because they came into tonight number 1 in shooting, right, John? They're hitting all their threes coming into tonight. And tonight it cooled down a little bit, and they did need to pile up some stops at different points. But as the offense comes down to earth a little bit from this hot start, are you able to lean into defense enough where you're still winning consistently on that end of the court?
It's different than last year, though, isn't it, Bobby? It's not just reliant on
the
three.
Is,
in fact,
but they're also hot.
In fact, they've had 3 games, I believe, shooting sub 40 from 3, maybe 2. But they're not as reliant on just the shots falling. They're just able to get better looks, better quality looks, stuff around the basket. Porzingis, lobs, massive mismatches, either on switches or just simply teams just don't have the height to defend him. Guards backing in other guys on post-ups. Tatum going to the rim strong. Brown in there when you have the 5 starters out there, able to beat pretty much everybody off the dribble. They're just getting buckets. I've always felt the problem with the Celtics has always been they have to work so much harder to score than other teams, whether it was a couple of years ago not getting to the line nearly as much as others,
That's not happening, no.
Or just needing jump shots and 3-point shots to fall. That's always the issue is it's harder for you to be able to do that on a consistent basis if you're not finding a way to get some easy buckets. They can do that now. So I think different. Speaking of the easy buckets, it's not fair to not talk a little more about Tatum before we go, because, if it was Brown, everybody'd be killing me right now. We talked about Tatum, but it's almost becoming boring. He's so good right now. Like Sherrod hinted that entering the MVP conversation, he's probably leading the MVP conversation through 5 games.
He is leading it.
But, and there's other people playing
MVP
out of their
conversation.
Well, I mean, it's Luka or Tatum right now. But I mean, the reality is just simply, it's not just the stats through 5 games. It's the way he's playing through 5 games. If this is the type of Tatum you're getting through the year, he's going to be in the conversation, like legit. It's not like Celtics fans in the conversation, like Tatum should be considered. No, he's not. In past years, he wasn't. You knew what he was outside of the top 2-3 who were legitimately being talked about it. This year, he can absolutely crack the conversation with the way that he's playing.
his shot profile has evolved.
Yes.
To where now
point.
you really don't have all those glitches and kinks in his armor that you could take advantage of on a night in, night out basis. The big thing about Tatum, he's not big enough, he's not strong enough, he's not physical enough. He's taking guys and putting them on his back on the elbow. And then it becomes, what's he going to do? Shoot the mid-range, pass out of it, or just keep backing you down till it gets something inside the paint. He has become an unstoppable offensive force.
Hold on,
when he plays poorly, it's not because of what you're doing necessarily the physical. He's just having a bad night. And he's
Look at the shot chart.
Look at that.
Shot chart.
I love shot charts. Oh, thank God.
Oh man, keep this up for the rest of the show.
Look at that.
Look
Calm
at
down,
the shot
Jimmy. Calm down,
selection.
Jimmy. Easy.
A lot of green on that perimeter. I like to see that.
And a lot at the rim.
But it's a lot at the rim. You know, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's because one of the reasons we said like Tatum should lean into mid-range a little bit more is simply because he wasn't getting to the rim effectively, even though last year his numbers were better. But you could just see him struggling at times being able to like play through contact and finish, especially going to his left. And some of it was, you know, just take that stuff, take what they give you, you know, once you get, you know, past the first defender, instead of necessarily having to take it all the way to the cup. You're seeing more of that kind of in a post-up sort of thing with some free throw kind of fadeaway jumpers. You know, not as much tonight. But yes, that's what you want to see at the basket and behind the three-point arc. It's a beautiful shot chart tonight. It's a dead split
10,000.
too. Yeah. And the 10,000, which, I mean, numbers are numbers. It doesn't really mean anything, but apparently it does. You know, it's a big,
Tatum's
big,
been
nice
the youngest
round
to do
number.
damn near almost every statistic that has some significance in Celtics lore. Tatum has been the youngest to do it. It feels like,
and that's the thing. It's not like I think it's the reason I get
it's actually
bored
a
by
bad
it.
thing, right?
No, I just get bored by it because like it's, you know, it is what it is. Like most like. It's amazing, but he came right in and started right away. Not everybody does that, so he got cooking early in it. So naturally, he's going to keep breaking those records because he was thrust into a starting job with Hayward, went down in year one, and he just never let it go. So I mean, you know, and he comes in as you're entering the league as a 19-year-old, you know. That's how it's going to go. You're just going to break it and break it and break it and break it. You know, when you came in that early and immediately started starting. So, you know, it's hard to compare against Celtics from a generation ago because they came in at 22 years old. Like, obviously, Tatum's going to break these. He came in as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and started instantly.
Yeah, you probably want to look at games played, right, and figure it out that way if you really want to break it down.
The age thing is always an age. Yeah. It's cool as hell. He's been amazing. I mean, but that's the thing is like it almost is like, oh, cool, he broke another one. Like it's not even like a remarkable thing because he's so.
It's a milestone. Again, it's, you know, the expectations keep being raised with this guy because of how good he is and how good he, I guess, theoretically will continue to be. We're talking about him as leading the MVP race. Yes, it's 5 games in, but it feels like he is on the trajectory to be a perennial contender for MVP, and he's in his age, whatever, 26 year, 20, whatever it is year. 19, sorry. He's in his age 19 season. And so it is a big deal. He's young. He's obviously taken on a lot of responsibility over the course of his career to the point where he's at now. And he is the quote unquote leader, you would call him, on this team. And he's the go-to guy. And we saw it tonight in the fourth quarter. You know, he kind of eventually took the ball and, you know, spread that lead out to the point where the Nets couldn't make another run at it. And that's the difference between a great player and, you know, an MVP level player, is that he can just do that in those moments. And I think that's just who they have with this kid. And he's, you know, obviously 10,000, and eventually, you know, we'll be talking about 20,000 and so on and so forth. So,
and again, the question with Tatum was always like, what's the next level? Like, and
right.
Tatum and Brown for that matter. And like
it's another level.
It looks like looks like more of an evolution to his game, continuing on, and also like a maturity. And again, it's only 5 games, but it just
not much complaining, not much falling out of plays.
Exactly. It's everything is more composed again through the 5 games so far this year. The shot profile, as Sherrod mentioned, someone in the chat put it in here, and it's totally valid. And you just said it, Bobby. The complaining, almost all of it looks like he kind of like became a grown up over like the course of the summer. Just
He had to, right?
His overall approach.
He's your buddy Cass.
Part of the moves they made this summer, as I've said over and over again, happened because they wanted to push the Jays to be the leaders of this team and thrust responsibility on them. They can't defer. They can't be lax and laid back as leaders or spokesmen for the team. They have to be central to everything that this team does. And Tatum has overall thrust himself into every aspect, whether it's defense, whether it's passing, whether it's accountability and just organizing. I think he's done a great job with it. And tonight, especially without Derek White out there, just 1 assist, but I thought he got off the ball. He had the 3 turnovers early, and then he got off the ball, let Drew do his thing inside the arc, and really took the pressure that the Nets, put on him at the 3-point line while still hitting some tough threes. So overall, he's been impressive. And I was very close, John, just because of what we've watched so far, and just because of some questions I had about the Jays going into this year. One thing I thought going into this year, and I thought could be a real possibility, even though he's young, even though he's got a long way to go, I was wondering, we talk about him as MVP every year, and he had that great run to start last year, and then he fades, and there's just this natural inconsistency to his game that we've seen so far, the ups and downs with the shooting and all the rest. I wasn't sure if we were ever going to see him actually cash in and get that MVP, especially when you have the Embiids, the Jokic's, the Giannis's in front of him. But he's just been so much more consistent this year. And back to the point about the 10,000, as much as it's him coming into the league young,
Thanks, Chuck.
A lot of it's him being available every game. And now that they've changed the rules and you have to play 65 games, and that naturally I think is going to make availability more of a factor in these MVP discussions, he might have the best edge on anybody with the fact that he's going to play 70, 80 games a year. And everything else would just kind of be a bonus there. And I think more and more you're going to see MVP is going to become about availability here. So that's a big plus for him so far. The consistency has been great. And I'm backing off that take now. I think MVP is a real discussion for him this year.
We probably need to get into this on another show because it's late now, but you can't deny the fact that the roster changes have also contributed to Tatum's improved play too. And I mean,
Right.
Holiday and Porzingis coming in, guys like, Smart, Rob, and Grant going out. I'm not saying that those guys leaving necessarily made him better, but obviously there needed to be roster changes, and those changes are proving to be a benefit to the guys like Tatum and Brown.
Do have Josue coming if we want to squeeze in a last word with him.
We're gonna wrap it. I think Josue. We don't have time for a full combo. If Josue wants to have
Make
one
sure
word,
you tune in. Celtics All Access. We'll get his take on the.
Josue will pop in on the Celtics All Access stuff for sure. But again, the Tatum stuff, it's absolutely worth celebrating. The 10,000 points, amazing accolade. But I'm less interested.
No, we're not going to let you piss on it, John. 10,000.
I'm just less.
I'm Sherrod for 10,000 points.
I'm
and
far
all the
less
boomers
interested.
Can shove it tonight.
I'm far less interested in it than I am in how he's currently playing. That's all I'm saying.
Says Jimmy Toscano with the boomer take about the in-season tournament.
That's a good take. That's
goodness.
a great take. I'm not going to let the NBA try to pull one over on me.
Get off my lawn, says Jimmy Toscano.
I'm too based.
Damn it.
I'm too based, baby. I can't be had like that, man. Oh.
Yeah, I don't care about round numbers. I like how Tatum is playing this year. That's what I like.
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Fine.
I don't really care. But
I don't.
Hooray! Balloons, 10,000. I don't care. I think he's playing awesome this year. That's all I care about.
Yeah, sure. And he hit 10,000 sooner than he would have if he wasn't playing awesome this year.
Totally good point, Jimmy. Right.
Couple games sooner, probably.
Yeah, maybe a game or so.
Maybe a game.
I don't have any Derek White baby news.
No baby news.
Damn it, Bobby! Why do we send you to these games, man?
No, I don't think anything's happened yet. No social media posts or anything like that. And the family is just actually getting in late tonight.
Well, let's just leave Derek and his family to their business, and they're good.
They're
good. We don't.
We've got
a
more
direct
stuff
line
to talk
to the
about than Derek
to
White's
the hospital here.
Point is,
so he could have played tonight, is what you're saying.
No, point
Bobby's
is,
headed right to the hospital with Luke to check in.
Lemon squares. Bring the lemon squares.
Point is, We'll see if he's back Monday.
Are
Joe
we
didn't know pregame.
are we on Monday? We have a Monday game. Yeah, Monday in Minnesota. That's fun.
By the way,
Minnesota's
did you
fun.
guys talk about the glasses for Joe tonight? What a look.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, protective glasses.
tweeted
on.
something about
Chips
it. Somebody
Patrol.
scolded
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I tweeted something about it. Somebody scolded me on it. Basically, I said, Joel Mazzulla is every guy who's ever been told by one person that he looks good wearing something outrageous. Like, it's like the safari hat with the flaps on. I think you should leave. It's like
I don't think it was a fashion statement.
I know, that's why I like it. Whatever. But the point is, it was kind of a wild look.
I thought you looked scholarly with them.
Did you?
know?
Really?
I don't know if that's how I would have used.
I don't know if I would go there, but
a word
anyway,
that I would have used.
I actually did like the look. So
Really?
yeah, this is
you're
a
a
good
glasses
one.
guy too.
This is a good one. He looked like Tony Stark.
Yeah, he did.
That I did have that thought.
Yeah,
I did.
I like that. That's a good one. All right, we'll end it there. Thank you
Hey,
guys
the
for hanging
Wolves
out.
are going to be a good game. I think they're kind of a fun team.
Ant-Man.
I love
Anthony
Ant.
Edwards is
Yeah.
legit.
Love him.
Bobby hates Towns, so I mean,
Yeah,
he'll probably. have
those are the
something
glasses I
negative
used to wear when I would go home after a night out, like, and I had to see my parents, and I'd put on those glasses, and I'd be like, "Hey guys, my eyes aren't totally squinted out. This is just,
Like,
I'm just,
damn it, he's wearing the glasses again.
I'm just wearing these glasses. There's nothing here you need to worry about. I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the man.
Pull them off, eyes blazing red.
Yeah.
I
You
also
gotta have the drops.
You gotta have the drops.
Lumify for all you guys watching at home. Lumify drops. They turn your eyes perfectly white.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that as a sponsor.
Worth it. It's worth it. It's like $18, but it's worth it.
Hey, Mom, what do you think of my glasses?
Going out for the night. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Next morning. Done.
All right.
Coming on a podcast. You're good to go. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Lumify.
Thanks everyone for hanging out. It was fun. Another good crowd here on a Saturday night. Celtics win 124-114. Jason Tatum reaches the most important milestone in all of sports. And
Much to John's dismay, it ruined John's night. John was holding out hope that Tatum would never hit that number, and he's not going to sleep.
It's
tonight.
the most important thing that's ever happened in all of our lives. Luke Kornet, 5 for 5, 11
Shame
points.
on us for
Definitely the
recognizing
most
it.
important thing that's ever happened in Bobby's life.
I needed this.
Luke
He
Kornet
needed
scored
it.
his 100th point of the night.
Listen,
Meanwhile,
I accepted
100th point of his career.
I accepted all the criticism. I just had to sit back and hear it, and I was waiting for a game like this because this is what he's capable of.
When
What
you
food
walked
are
in,
we talking about tonight?
when you walked into the locker room, did you say to Luke, "We did it"? Hey, Luke, we did it.
We have a Kornet
got him up.
interview up on the YouTube channel, so go check that out.
Okay, we will.
Check it out. Post game coverage coming up on our YouTube channel.
We did it, Luke.
Interview. You know those like draft moments, like
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
He's on the phone.
you got 11. It's got 11 points tonight.
Yeah, I love you too.
Shoot, my guy.
Yeah. Thank you guys in the chat again. Always, it's a fun chat, and I know you guys come out here and taking shots at us, but also chatting with each other. So it's always a good time. We appreciate you guys. We will see you guys on Monday.